So, welcome to the Mark Hope Show. Sorry about that little coughing fit, but that brings up a good point. We don't edit this show because no one cares. I mean, if you're making a little podcast video and you're trying to be a little entertaining or whatever, and you think that your listeners care about, no gaps or perfect editing or whatever, they don't. And if they do, they're trolls and they want to say, oh, you misspelled something or whatever, like they're smarter than you. Guess what? Most of those people have a 6-year bachelor's degree, $190,000 in debt, and no job or a paper route, something like that. But you will never, ever be criticized by somebody who's doing way better than you. So when you criticize somebody, realize, they're on ladder 7 and you're on ladder 2. And I am going to make some observations, and maybe it puts me on ladder 2 and puts them on ladder 7, but I'm going to criticize some shit. And today I'm going to talk about the C-suites. I'm going to talk about the people that are in charge of stuff. And my question is going to be, why do we put the dumb ones in charge? And I say that tongue in cheek because they're probably not the dumb ones, but it looks like they're the dumb ones when we see what they're doing, because we think they're trying to win the game. We think that these politicians and company CEOs are trying to better the product and trying to make it work better and make more money, for the people that are there, and make it better and build a brand. And a lot of these people that are running our country. All right, sorry about that. I had to take a phone call. But anyway, why do they make, they make these decisions that um, are not good for the business? And you're wondering, why are they so stupid? And they're not. They're not. They're just evil. And they have forgotten why they got into business in the first place. And so they're pleasing the shareholders and that money, and not taking care of their business. So, those businesses are just being ravaged from the inside out. And then they take a good brand and they ruin it while they're increasing the stock price. And General Motors, they went out of business 4 or 5 years ago, and they went bankrupt. The government bailed them out, and they didn't change the address on the letterhead. A third of it went to the government, a third of it went to the unions, and the shareholders got screwed. And then they opened the doors the next day, and here we go again. So realize, when you've got companies like, BMW, who are making a subscription model out of heated seats. They don't let you use your navigation. Hopefully, we're not going to be able to see that. Okay, here we go. They don't let you use your navigation on your car unless you pay a subscription, and it's silly. And I know I'm getting off on a couple of different subjects with this, but the employees of those companies that are putting up with the customer interaction when they're not happy are the losers. And they're trying to do what they can to move up. And the higher up you go, you get these incentives for stock prices and profits, not for uh, actually making a good hamburger. I have this problem with McDonald's. You take a good brand and then these corporate raiders, they get in these companies, and McDonald's was a great American brand, and they sold inexpensive food to regular American families. And that was their target audience. And they betrayed that audience. And, COVID happened and they started making up all these excuses for things. And oh, they want to have $20 an hour to pay to work at McDonald's. Yeah, well, so I mean, some old guy like me can't be the smartest one in the room. I They ruined the money. When COVID happened, they opened the floodgates, they printed all the money, all the money became worth half of what it was worth back then. So that means that before they ruined the money with the COVID stuff, and whatever your opinion is about that is your opinion about that. But that was a giant mess. They gave away money that people were stealing, and the PPP loans and the shenanigans, and everybody gets a little bit of a check and whatever. And it was terrible, and they ruined the money. So the money's worth half of what it was once worth. So if you're paying McDonald's workers $9 an hour, now they've ruined the money. That's $18 an hour minimum. That's what it is. A Big Mac was $1.75 back then, and now it's $4. So you're charging three times more, and you still want to pay the same price for labor. You're just an idiot. But you can't say they're idiots. They're con men. They know what they're doing, and they're getting record profits. Look at their profits. They are doing well, and then they're saying we have to reduce the service because, you know, bullshit reason number three. And the thing that gets me is other companies are doing it very well. So you've got McDonald's, who has just taken a big giant crap on their target audience, raising prices, raising prices, raising prices, raising prices until people stopped going to McDonald's. And they're like, oh no, the gravy train, the pain threshold, I could cheat on my wife 7 times, but 8, that's too much, back it off. And their only morality is, oh, there's a drop in business, so let's do a $6 value meal instead of a $12 value meal. Well, people aren't going for it. And there's real companies out there that you have a real experience with that are doing real business. And, the comparison here is Chick-fil-A. And Chick-fil-A is doing a great job. And they're paying their employees. There's another one, that Buc-ee's, that gas station. I think the assistant store manager at a Buc-ee's makes like $100,000 a year. And it's pretty good. And if you go into one of those Buc-ee's, I don't know if you've been in there, but it's good quality and it's decent prices. It's clean. I mean, that's somebody doing it correctly, and they're making money, and their brand is growing and it's strong. I'm talking about the car, like the BMW people. I mean, they want to charge you $90,000 for a car and then charge you extra on a subscription to use the additional power that you paid for. If you want to use all 8 cylinders, then you're going to have to pay the performance subscription, or we're going to cut it back to 4 cylinders or whatever the hell they're doing. I mean, it's unbelievable how ignorant they are. And the car guys, and I did some videos and TikToks on this before, but the car guys, they are just insane. Back in COVID, they made up this chip shortage thing, and you can't get the cars. They sold these people cars at $10 or $20,000 over invoice, over sticker. When I was growing up, if you paid sticker for a car, they would put you in the nut hospital, because that's, everyone knew how stupid that was. And now they're trying to charge us over during that time. Car salesmen, and I'm intimately familiar with this, car salesmen were making more than doctors. And I happen to know that too. If a really good doctor makes about $275,000, I knew several car guys that were making $350,000 and $400,000. They jacked all the prices of the cars up, and the guys that were selling them and the dealership and everything else, they were making plenty of money. And then when the killing fields ended, they would take their foot off the pedal. And now they've got so much inventory that they can't afford the floor planning, and we're just waiting for them to go out of business. Stellantis should be going out of business soon. Half of the car dealerships that you know of should go out of business, and you're going to see churches open up and old dealership buildings, and that's going to happen because they were so greedy, and they handed out all this money to the C-suite executives and gave them golden parachutes and $13 million bonuses, and they didn't take care of the customers. They didn't lower the prices, and they're going to pay the price. And reacting to the problem of people don't like us, people don't like our cars, people don't like the price of our cars. Well, let's charge them extra to use the seatbelt. They're idiots. And all they care about is coming up with some scam to, hurt the customer. And the stock prices go up till they don't. And then they go down, and they go down by a lot. And you know what happens to the C-suite executives? They take them out by layers. They take this layer of management, this layer of management, this layer of management. Now all of a sudden you have vice president interfacing with store manager. All those people are gone. All those people that thought it was cute that they were ruining the product and ruining the customer experience, trying to make it seem like you don't make enough money to buy a $90,000 Ford F-150 that's, not as good as it used to be. Yeah, it was me. So, um, let me see where I'm at on mine. Yeah, numbers matter more than people. People become expenses, and that's the McDonald's thing. They're going to automate. Well, if you don't do the thing, then we're going to automate. And, how about this? Are you going to be using your mobile app today? Because I'm telling you, I'm not using my mobile app. And I know all the customers have a computer and a cash register in their hand. So let's get them to do all the cashier work. And that way we won't have to have any humans. We'll just have a turnstile and their crappy food comes out the other side. $27 for two hamburgers, one small fry, and a Diet Coke. And, we can't afford to have some nice employee hand it to you. We got one or two guys in there working their butts off, and there's no time for a customer interface. And what happens if your fries are cold, or they screwed up your order or whatever? Now I got to interface with this app and put in a trouble ticket or whatever. No thanks. I'm going to go to the diner that's owned by the guy and his wife, and they have three little kids that are in there working in the diner on the weekends, and I'll pay him more. And I'm done with these corporations and their nonsense. And if you look at car brands, best-selling car is a Tesla Y. And I'm not an EV guy necessarily, but I bought one of those Teslas because my wife has seizures. And I bought it on the off chance that they would put a sensor in her. And when she had a seizure, the car would realize it and pull over safely and call 911. And that way she could drive again. So I bought one of those cars. And I'm here to tell you that's the real deal. That car drives itself. I have the self-driving thing, and if my wife gets confident enough, she could drive that thing, you know, with 98% safety. And when they come out with the unsupervised self-driving for that car, she can drive it 100% safe. She could sit in the back seat and let it drive her wherever she wants to go. And that's a car company that's providing something that's worth the subscription. Can you imagine how many people are medically not able to drive that can drive now because of that advancement? That's value. That's they're doing a good job. And some of the other car manufacturers are not doing such a good job. And I'm not a Tesla fanboy. I mean, I have the car. I like the fact that I don't drive anymore, except for when I want to. And it's fast as shit also. Also. Um, but watch these companies that aren't doing well. Watch these companies that are not following through with customer service and the price gouging and all that kind of stuff. Because we're headed to a recession and depression. We're already in the recession. We're headed for the depression. And there's going to be a lot of people that are out of work. And there's going to be a lot of people that are not interested in all this nonsense because we're going to get back to caring about what we spend our money on. And I work with people when I have the strength to, and I make some little videos and stuff to have people have their own little business and be more self-supporting because that's going to be very, very important going forward, as we, fight this corporate behemoths. And the next show, I'm gonna do the same thing on how we run our government. And I'm independent and middle of the road, and those guys are all morons, every single one of them. And they are not trying to make things work right. They're trying to work for somebody besides you guys. And we'll touch on that the next time we have the Mark Hope Show. And thanks for coming in, and